My name is Wole Ogundare. I'm an associate partner at Phillips Consulting Limited, managing the Governance and Finance Division. Okay, let me start with the Nigerian economy. Fact is simple. We earn far less than we usually earn, which means the amount that we're left to disburse to all the states also reduces drastically. Because this economy hasn't been diversified enough to ensure that our broad base includes earnings from agriculture, earnings from solid minerals, it leaves us in a position where there is less of a pie to share as a nation. What that means and the resultant effect is that we can do far less than we would have loved to do. For me, one of the fundamental things in terms of what to do has always been development of our infrastructure, power, roads, rail, all of those things. So it leaves us with a longer time frame to achieve the National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan that was signed into law recently. That's on the national side. On the individual, that is the simplest. What your salary could buy last month, it can no longer buy. If your salary isn't increased as an individual, it simply means your disposable income is now far less than what it used to be, which also means that the amount left to be saved, as they say, for the rainy day is also far less than what you can have. For trade and businesses, again, an economy and a business should usually be watched very closely. So the economy has been affected with the income. Our businesses too will be largely affected. Nigeria's economy will contract seriously in 2015. Government being the largest spender within our economy. Once that large government spending hasn't galvanized the economy, the average income of all businesses will also drop drastically in 2015. So if you ask me, a lot of the clients we've been working with, the tenet has been avoid doing business with government in the current year and maybe in 2016 until oil prices rebound, simply because the government will owe you for a long time. They may eventually pay, but they will owe you for a long time, which is bad for business. So the business tenets, the business ratios that we tend to look at, engaging the health of the business, will be affected. What you will see in 2015 and maybe early part of 2016 will be a lot of shift from public sector focus to a more private sector focused economy in terms of how to generate business, which is what will lead to the contraction, because the government largesse that we've always had won't be there anymore. That trend is a welcome trend. One of the statistics that we need to be aware of is that insurance in Nigeria today doesn't cover up to about 5% of the entire population. So there's a broad base left for insurance to cover. There's a huge playing field. One of the fundamental things, as you will find out with a lot of those coming in, will be the fact that they want to come and deepen the reach of insurance to the common man on the street. A lot of people have failed to understand how insurance works, particularly in Nigeria, because people usually feel it is a percentage of that disposable income that has shrunk, as I just described, that they also need to use for insurance. Yes, but you see, it's a system that is meant to return you in any form of event happening, illness, death, accident, that tends to buffer you, as it were. One of the fundamental things that I know a lot of them will be doing will be the mobile money. It's the easiest way to reach the man on the shop floor. Quite a few telco companies are working with that now. The whole idea is to reach the man on the shop floor and be able to offer bespoke insurance products to that man on the shop floor. So people should be able to pay 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 naira, to get annual insurance products that they can also rely on in case of any issue. One of the other things is the range of insurance offerings from life to assets. A lot of people don't insure their assets because fundamentally what we insure are mostly cars. But you'll find out that there are insurance products for your television, insurance products for your furniture, insurance products for your appliances at home. People are not aware. So again, on the side of the insurers, the sort of awareness that they're doing, the sort of marketing that they're doing is not enough. So they also need to step up and ensure that what they're offering gets to the people. One other area in insurance that I'm quietly impressed with is that there are quite a few insurance companies now that are starting to compete with the banks because they're offering products that allows you save with them for about 2 years, and the returns you get on it are far higher than if your money is in the bank. So that's a very welcome development. What you will notice is happening is that the insurers are continuing to increase the risk assets. When I say risk assets, it means the volume of money that they put into the economy to help generate more funds. So as they increase these risk assets, it's a high risk, high reward type of mechanism that is in place. And it's giving very good yields, for people who are interested. I'm particularly somebody who's very gung-ho about that. I've bought into quite a few of those kinds of products. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, what just also occurred to me is that the insurance companies in Nigeria, a lot of them are undercapitalized, and quite a number of them are also distressed. The federal government recently stopped issuing new licenses to any new insurance company and said, look, let's clean up the industry, which is also a good development. Same way as it happened in the banks. We used to have about 89, 90 banks. There are now about 22, 23 banks, and they're all healthy. It's the same thing that will happen in the insurance industry. So you will find a lot of people coming in to take up equity in existing companies. Some existing companies will be buying up other companies so they can show up their recapitalization, ensure that the risk assets I've talked about are managed very, very tightly, because that's one of the regulations that the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, is very, very focused on, to ensure that, yes, we're using your funding for a lot of risk-type assets, but we're also ensuring tight fiscal controls. So if you know of the IFRS, it's an accounting principle that has been introduced in 2012, International Financial Reporting Standards. It's a new standard introduced in Nigeria. It's been existing in quite a few other countries. The IFRS principle is to also ensure stricter controls on your spending, on your risk management, on your asset management, on all of those things to ensure that funds are not misappropriated. It also has a bit of inclination along the corporate governance principles. So all of this is to ensure that the man on the street is protected. His funds are protected. Some people don't just take the funds and disappear into thin air. So it's a welcome development that people are beginning to bring in a lot of international flavor to what's going on in Nigeria here. And one other thing that it will do is to ensure that our local players up their game as well in terms of their insurance offerings and the sort of volume of transactions that they're also doing, to ensure that they continue to increase it so they can maintain their margins. You see, we'll have quite a few local players. The insurance sector is not really peculiar, but it's a sector that requires competence. One of the things that people should try and gauge is, if you go to an insurance company, how many qualified personnel do they have in there? In charge of their risk, in charge of the finances, in charge of their human resources, how many qualified personnel? A new area is the loss adjuster area. This is something specific to the insurance industry. Competence, yes, we have it here, but there's also a law that says if any loss adjuster from overseas is coming to work here, they should work with the Nigerian company. Again, these things around the local content law to ensure knowledge transfer and all of that. It's a knowledge-driven sector, and the more they're able to increase the firm knowledge of how insurance plays out, insurance products are made, insurance products are sold, the better for the economy. So it's a win-win. Some people may be a bit scared of it, but all they need to do is to ensure that they increase their own approach to the market in terms of how they want to be perceived, or else you'll just find out that the guys who have foreign affiliations and the very good local ones sweep up the entire market space, and you'll be left with almost nothing. So that the MD of that insurance company saying that is absolutely spot on. He's up for the competition, and I dare say they will have quite a few things up their sleeves as well in terms of product offering to ensure that wide coverage. I mean, the challenge with that is when you say...
Sorry, just because they won't hear my questions, I need you to say, as regards the settlement.
Okay, all right. As regards this settlement of the Bondo people in their local government, the challenge I see with that is you have promoted a man into a state of inefficiency, if I can put it. If you over-promote certain people, they become inefficient. If you give a fisherman £2,000, what's he going to do with it? He'll probably marry more wives, buy a few luxury items, and that's it. And the community still remains in the same problem that, they had been hitherto. One of the fundamental things I've even, questioned is who exactly, is somebody just going to go on the street and distribute this money on a door-to-door basis? How would it be distributed? Fundamentally, what I think should happen is there should be a fundamental plan about cleaning up the environment where these guys carry out their daily businesses, the water. How do we get off all the sludge from the water so they can go back to earning their livelihoods? How can we use this money in a more productive manner? There needs to be a plan around it. If there's no plan around it, then the settlement doesn't offer any sort of succor to the plight of the fishermen. They may have a temporary amelioration with getting £2,000 each, but I dare say 6 months down the line, they're right back to the position where they started off. My advice to the government and to the average Nigerian is simple. We need to curb our spending patterns. One of the fundamental things you find out both within government and individuals is always a tendency to spend on nice-to-haves, luxury items. I dare say in Africa, if you look around Nigeria, we have the highest aggregation of luxury items. So one of the fundamental things we need to do is to curb acquisition of luxury items to the barest minimum. This is the time to cut your coat according to your size. And first of all, ensure that as a family, as a business, as a government, you create a firm budget. Over time, people typically tend to know what they spend money on over time. What you need to do is cut out all the frills and thrills from your spending pattern and ensure you keep a very nice and tight spending habit. So it's in solving the problem or in being able to manage the problem, you need to be able to curb your spending habit, the government spending habit, the business's spending habit, the individual spending habit. If that behavioral change doesn't occur, and notice I'm being very specific, it has to be a behavioral change. If that doesn't occur, then people will feel the pinch a lot more than they should ideally feel the pinch, right from the government all the way down. I still see a heavy budget being ascribed, for instance, to subsidy payments, even though subsidy payments, as I say, I heard it's come down to about, is it 44 naira per litre or something? So there's been a 95% reduction in subsidy payments based on the drop in oil prices. I still hear that the money earmarked for feeding at the presidential villa is still somewhat on an increase. I still see items like the president getting an additional private jet. I see all of that are still a bit frivolous, if you ask me. It is at that level that you need to cut off all the fat and ensure that we run a lean and mean budget. We're still making money as a country, but a lot of the money we're making now cannot afford any frivolity around it. There's a need to curb that spending. There's a need to constantly grow our excess crude account back. There's a need to grow our federal account back. I saw something in the papers this morning saying that the Federal Reserves had gone up marginally over last month, which is a welcome development, just marginally. But there's a need to ensure a concerted effort to ensure that that pattern keeps going in this manner. And the World Bank has also advised a lot of developing economies like us that what we need to do is to ensure we create fiscal buffers. You know, we've always had the excess crude account, which is a fiscal buffer. Now it's been totally depleted. We need to work at it. A lot of all those things are behavioral changes, you know, that we need to take in order to set us back to the path of greatness. And one fundamental thing as well is to start looking for ways to diversify Nigeria's economy. I've said the other areas apart from the oil and gas will be solid minerals as well as agriculture.